I can't believe you're going along with this. You and an MP?
That don't mean nothing in this town.
Franciscus, these men are disobeying an officer. I command you to arrest them.
I take my orders from Sergeant McKinney.
That's right. These men is mine. Franciscus, check outside.
Yes, sir.
Franciscus, come back here. Arrest these men. I'll see it goes easy on you.
You wasting your breath, boy!
Kenny, we've been through a lot together. It's one.
And the same thing gonna happen here, Franciscus. We're gonna win over all these white folks here too. See, all we got to do is grin.
And don't look at the white women.
Hey, damn these crackers, they don't like me. But the colors around here sure treat us right.
Ain't they though? See, I gotta return this here little parasol to this pretty little thing I met yesterday.
Ooh, hey, I'm still full from that picnic yesterday. Man, I ain't never seen that much food in my life.
All right, all right. What time? You know what time it is. It's your boy Jeffrey L. Boney, and you're tuned into another edition of Trending Tuesdays. We are here at the K. Davis Showroom Plus in the heart of Sunnyside, Houston, Texas, and we have our live studio audience in the building. Give it up. All right, man, and we're excited to have all of them, and as well as you, join us today for another edition of Trending Tuesdays. As always, I am Jeffrey L. Boney, your host of Trending Tuesdays, and I want to give a shout out to Danette Davis, who is the originator, the founder of Trending Tuesdays, and we always want to shout her out and all the work that she does in the community. Today is going to be an outstanding show, just like all of our shows, but today is going to be even better because today we have some amazing guests, some people that were a part of a play. Let me just be honest. I had been hearing about this play, Camp Logan, at the Ensemble Theater. Like, God, I was supposed to come when the city of Missouri City, for those of you who don't know, I'm city council member in Missouri City, and we had Black History Month celebration all year. I mean, all year. Well, I do celebrate Black History all year, but all month long, and one of the things that we did was have City Missouri City Day with the Edison Arts Foundation at the Ensemble Theater. I couldn't make that. Couldn't make the opening night, which I was invited to, but Danette, she said, you know what, Jeff, you got to get by there. I said, I want to, but I have another function on the other side of town. I said, I'm going to be on two wheels trying to get in to catch the show if I can make it. I literally got there a minute before the show started and, was able to catch this amazing, amazing show written by the playwright that's one of the playwrights that's joining me today, and I want to just share a little bit about her life. And Susan Smith Blackburn Prize. The New York Times has praised her plays as forceful, well-crafted, and vigorous social satire. Dramalog has described her work as practically flawless. Her play, Camp Logan, that I just talked about, has been performed at major venues around the country, including the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. Let's give it up, everybody, for Celeste Bedford Walker joining us today. Also joining us today is a young lady who is a director, an actress, an educator, and she worked closely with the founder of the Ensemble Theater, George W. Hawkins, from 1982 until his death, and serves currently as the artistic director of the historic Ensemble Theater in Houston, Texas. Let's give it up, everyone, for Eileen J. Morris. Now, I'll be honest. I mean, I love going to plays, watching movies, TV shows, but this play was outstanding. I knew historically about Camp Logan. I'm a history person, and the way this was delivered, it just had all kind of emotions that was pulled out of me. I laughed. I did cry. I cried. I got mad. I wanted to get up and whoop one of the characters. I mean, I had all these emotions going on. So the way you did.
Well, I think, 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 Well, Camp Logan was a story I always heard about growing up, the event. I always heard about it, and as a child, but I really didn't pay it that much attention until I actually started to write plays. And after I had written about 3 or 4 plays, and people in the neighborhood were talking about the play. They especially talked, not the play, the incident. They especially
Now, are you
talked
from
about
Houston?
It. I am from Houston.
Okay,
yeah,
all right,
Houston,
all right.
Texas, 3rd Ward.
Got
3rd
you.
Ward,
Yates
Texas.
High School?
Absolutely.
All right, all right. That's another reason to have as a guest.
Well,
anyway.
there you go.
But anyway, so they were talking about the incident.
Right, they were talking about an incident, some racial incident that had happened in Houston at the time. Whenever something racial happened in the city, they would talk about Camp Logan in whispers. They'd say, remember Camp Logan? We don't want to have another Camp Logan. And so that particular time, I really listened to it, like I said, after I started to write plays, because I could hear the drama in it, I could hear the theatricality in it, I could see it unfolding in a Shakespearean type way, the events. So I became interested and started to do a little research and thought that I would try my hand at trying to tell this Houston story.
So tell me about you becoming a playwright. Like, what drew your interest in actually becoming a playwright, wanting to even start writing plays and getting into the arts?
Well, when I discovered that I didn't have the patience to write the all-American novel, I started out trying to write a novel. And I got about 25 pages into it, and I realized, oh no, I don't have the patience for this. I just want to put some characters in a room together and just have them talk their way out of it. And that's when I realized, well, maybe I want to write a play.
And how old were you around this time?
Oh, it was about
10 years ago.
about 40 years ago.
Oh wow, okay. And so you just had the bug.
I had the bug. Well, I always had the bug of wanting to express myself. My earliest memories are of wanting to express myself. I wanted to write poetry. My poetry is trite. I wanted to be able to play an instrument when I was growing up. I wanted to be able to play the piano. My parents couldn't afford, to buy me a piano. So then I tried to draw pictures. I really couldn't draw. But I'd look out the window at people going by, and I was always imagining what was really going on in their minds, what's really going on in their homes. And I just wanted to be able to express what I thought. And then I just kind of stumbled across writing. Like I said, I wrote poetry, and that was good. And then I went on to, good in the sense that it gave me a way to release myself. The poetry wasn't good. Then I started to write short stories, and that was better. And then that's when I thought, well, I'm going to write the all-American novel. And then that's when I realized, no, that's not going to work. So I joined the theater group in Fifth Ward. Called the, what was the name of it? The Black Arts Center at the time. I said, well, if I want to try to write a play, let me join a theater group and see how things go, And so I joined the theater group, had a little acting role, and met some actors. Some of these actors I still know today. And brought in a play that I was working on at the time. We formed a little group called Writers Clinic, Inc., and I brought in a play that I had written. Actually, I'd written a play some years ago when I went to Washington, D.C. and joined this quote-unquote black militant group, And in this group, the men were allowed to practice polygamy, which means they could have as many wives as they could love and afford. Now, I wasn't a part of it. Truly. I was, ever the writer, in the background, just observing and watching and wondering what in the world is going on in those homes. Because everybody acted like they were so happy, and so harmonious with each other. So I wrote what I thought was really going on. And that's
wow.
how it all started.
That is awesome. That's awesome. So, Eileen, is this the first time you're hearing that story?
Well, that story, but we did the Ensemble Theater produced that play, and it was called Once in a Lifetime, if I'm remembering correctly.
Wow, wow.
So that was one of the first plays that our founder, George Hawkins, produced at the Ensemble Theater at 1010 2M, which is our first location.
Oh, wow. So Eileen, you've been at the ensemble for quite a while, since 1982, and you're still there. Yeah. What is it that drove you to get into the arts?
Well, I always tell everybody I wanted to be a nun. I went to Catholic school all my life, and so I really felt that was going to be my calling. But I realized that was not it, and I always had a passion and love for being engaged with people. I kept a journal all the time. I like to write. Just what was happening in the world, or what I saw, or what I was thinking about. And I knew that I wanted to be in theater. I knew that from 5th grade. And so once I said, okay, I'm not going to look into a more religious aspect of my career journey, I would look into the arts. And that's when I started doing theater. Well, being Catholic, I would, and back in the, early 60s, late 60s and 70s, they were not a lot of roles for myself. And so I had to battle and fight and show them that I could do the role, and that was how I actually started in theater. Moved to Houston from Chicago, Illinois, and met George Hawkins, the founder of the Ensemble Theater, and started volunteering with the theater. And that's how I got into theater in Houston, black theater in Houston at the Ensemble.
Oh, wow. So let's talk about Camp Logan for a second. We have some of the cast members that we'll be talking to a little later. But what drew you to want to have that play at the Ensemble Theater?
Well, first of all, the Ensemble Theater absolutely loves the work of Celeste Bedford Walker. We have produced probably about 7 or 8 of her shows over the years, over our 48-year history, from the time, as I told you, that Mr. Hawkins was doing her earlier plays at 1010 2M, and we continue that tradition. We've commissioned Celeste at least 2 or 3 times to write a play, so that means that we said, hey, Celeste, here's an idea, or what do you think about this, or do you have an idea of something that you want to write that will work for the Ensemble Theater that could be a world premiere? So we've done that. So we really believe in her art of storytelling, her art of creating characters, bringing them to life, telling their stories, helping the audiences to see themselves in her characters, and to have stories unfold like a Camp Logan, which is what drew us to Camp Logan. So first of all, I'm very familiar with Camp Logan because many of the ensemble artists that are still living today have actually toured with that play over the years. But it was a play we had never produced at the Ensemble Theater.
So this was the first time?
So this was the first time we produced this play, because before it was really a touring production. It wasn't like set in a theater house where it ran 4 to 5, 6 weeks. Maybe over the years it did once or twice, but for the most part it was touring the country. And so Allie Woods, the director, and I were talking about this play because it had been a play that I had been thinking about over the years to put into the season. Because it dealt with Houston history, the story was so strong about dealing with black men. I love historical educational pieces because it gives audiences an opportunity to understand their past so they can be present in the present and to work toward their future. So that kind of Sankova trajectory was evident in this play. But most importantly, it was a story of truth and things that we really needed to recognize and deal with. And unfortunately, stories that we are dealing with still today. So that was why we wanted it. And then we were able to, of course, Celeste and I, we have the ensemble, we have a great relationship. So she enjoys the work that we do with her plays, and we wanted to have it. So that's how we got it.
So Celeste, tell me, let's just talk about Camp Logan. When you initially wrote this play, how did you feel about it after you were done? Were you like, you know what, this is going to be a hit? What were your thoughts?
I was very, very intimidated.
Really?
Yeah.
Explain.
How dare you write a play with an all-male cast in the Army? Really, after I really had gotten it written, why I was writing and researching. I was fueled, by just putting it together. But once it got together, and there it was, and I was reading, I said, oh, no, I mean, all these men aren't going to really even sound like men. I mean, no, I'm going to do so. I'm not even going to put this play out. I'm just, why would I do that? And then I don't know what made me. It was first done at the Kooumba House Theater. I don't know. I think I was talking about it talking about doing a play of mine with
Lindy Yenny or Thomas
Lindy,
Malasa?
yes. Talking about doing some one acts that I had written, and then Camp Logan came up, and Lindy said, well, let's do Camp Logan. And I thought, well, this will give me a chance, to see it, and it wasn't. It was right here. It was in the city. I knew Lindy, so I felt comfortable and just, well, we'll see. We'll put it up, we'll look at it, and then, I can be done with it. And I was pleasantly surprised that it played pretty well.
And so, what was the feedback at that time? Because when was the first, what year did you first put this out as far as having it as a stage play?
That's what I'm thinking. I think I started to write it 85, 86, and then we did it at Kooumba House either 87, 88.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Mm-hmm.
So about 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 40 years.
40
years, excuse me, about 40 years.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
40 years ago.
Yeah,
wow.
absolutely.
And so, having seen it, live and in person myself, again, knowing the story historically on paper, seeing it acted out, it had so much emotion to it. I mean, did you write it and did you write it from a perspective of being, for people to be entertained, or did you write it because you wanted to draw out various emotions, or is that a part of your writing style? I'm just trying to get a better understanding.
Right, I know what you mean. Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, I just really, really wanted to tell the story. That was the main thing. I wanted people to know what had happened. I wanted people to know these men, what kind of men they were. The black men had always served in the army, because my dad was he was in World War II. My grandfather, he was in World War I. I had a cousin, he was in Vietnam. So they were always talking about their war stories. And I always found them so interesting. And so I wanted people to be interested in these men. Not so much the incident, of course, we were going to come to the incident, but I wanted them to know the men first, So that was my driving force. And so by knowing them, of course, you're going to have laughter, you're going to have anger. I've been around men, like, as I said, my father, my grandfather, men in the army, my uncle. And
polygamists? I said polygamists?
If I might add, though, too, the thing about Celeste's writing is that she knows how to blend the coexistiveness of seriousness and humor. So she understands that that's definitely a part of life. I mean, if you think about in your most serious moment, you're going to find something's going to happen that'll make you laugh and cry all at the same time.
Right.
And she is definitely the kind of playwright that knows how to touch upon those human emotions that exist within all of us that, she portrays in her plays.
Right. Well, my favorite character, I have to be honest, was, no offense to the cast that's here, was Moses. He just reminded me so much of myself.
That militant stuff.
Yeah,
really
he reminded me so much of myself because, I be telling people, like, if, God knew when to allow me to be born and where, because, it's just, but I saw so much in him, and it related so much to him. But there was a lot of things also in a lot of the other characters, and we're going to talk to several of them in a minute here, but it was just something that just resonated with me, though, with that character. Who was your favorite character?
Well, let me just ask this, though. Isn't that the beauty of what art does? I mean, that's the beauty of how theater impacts audience. That's why it's so important to come to live theater. Because, you can watch television and Netflix and Hulu and all of those, but when you're seeing live theater, it's something about human energy that's being, presented in a way, the synergy of what's happening as human beings are up there. You're seeing them emote, you're seeing them, put out the, you're seeing the sweat on their face, you're seeing their hand move. So I just think that's a beautiful thing that you said that, because that's the beauty of what art is. It's about relating to somebody that you're seeing up on that stage, and Celeste is brilliant at making that happen.
Yes.
So my favorite character, I think, was Moses as well, because I think about my own life. I'm being raised in Chicago, and even though I went to Catholic schools, I got a little militant in me too. And my mother always said, because my mother was born and raised here in Houston, and she always says that's why she left Houston and went to Chicago, because she knew that she might not make it in Houston because of the politics and the way that the world was. At least in Chicago area, there were certain things that we didn't have to deal with being from the Midwest than what people down here in the South have to deal with.
And I know you're the playwright, Celeste, but do you have a favorite character out of the ones that you wrote about?
Well, yeah.
Okay, who was your favorite?
Well, Moses was modeled on my dad.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I have
wow.
some of his stories in there. I always have some of his stories in almost all of my plays.
Well, you gotta expound on that. I mean, tell us about your dad and how
he was in
relates.
the military.
Okay.
He was like Moses. He was always setting somebody straight.
Yeah.
If you didn't want to know the truth, don't ask him.
Right. Yes.
So
Wow.
he was based on my father, Moses was, but my actual favorite character in the play was based on my grandfather, who was very mild-mannered, except when you riled him up, and that was Gwilly.
Yes.
So those two are two of my favorites, but
Gwilly, he was the ladies' man.
well, no, that was Franciscus.
Oh no, I thought the Gwilly,
Well, no, you know,
was
you're
the
right.
ladies'
I'm
man.
sorry.
Yeah, he was
I'm
the ladies'
sorry.
man. He always, trying to holler at some females.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Look at you grinning when you say that. You're grinning from ear to ear when you say that. Always hollering at the ladies, man.
Yeah, I mean, he carrying the parasol and everything.
Yeah.
But listen,
You're right.
we're going to come back to you guys, but we're going to take a quick break real quick and turn it over to Danette Davis real quick. Danette?
Ooh-wee. I'm standing, and I'm doing it on purpose, in front of 3 guys here who are going to get to really tell you what it's like to have been a part of this tremendous play that we just got through talking about. I just want to remind you, you're at the K. Davis in the community showroom, where community and the kind of things that you see is what we're about. I want to thank our audience. You want to give yourselves a hand? All right, just so you know, we're live, what have you, and Jeff will be joining us over on the set. What I wanted, what we're going to do is do a little, I guess I call it a little commercial, whatever, kind of show you a little bit more. I know at the beginning maybe you saw a little bit. We got a little bit more because, we want you to, I don't know, I mean, if we're going to do it again, but there may be another version of that, but we want you to know that this story is so engaging and so wonderful, and those 2 people over there had the vision. We just want to make sure that they get that credit because the credit is due. Now, what we're going to do is play a little bit of commercial, and then we'll have Jeff over with our actors, and they can really share with you what it feels like to have lived this thing, okay?
In 1917, Houston, Texas was a city on edge. The arrival of black soldiers from the U.S. Army's 24th Infantry to guard Camp Logan ignited tensions with local police and white residents, tensions that would soon explode into one of the most tragic events in military history. More than a century later, the Ensemble Theater brings this untold story to life with the Houston premiere of Camp Logan, written by Celeste Bedford Walker. A gripping, award-winning production, this play doesn't just tell history, it makes you feel it. Because Black history is American history, and it is Houston history. Through the eyes of the men in Company 1, we witness the daily struggles of Black soldiers in the Jim Crow South, facing segregation, harassment, and betrayal by their own commanders. Some, like Charles Harton, believe in the promise of service, while others, like Joe Moses, refuse to bow down to racism. But as the city racial tensions rise, so does the soldiers' frustration, leading to a breaking point that will change history. Directed by Ali Woods Jr., Camp Logan brings stunning authenticity to the stage with a stellar cast and expert military consultation. Every detail, every command, every conflict feels heartbreakingly real. More than a play, Camp Logan is a reckoning. It forces us to confront a past too often forgotten and the sacrifices of those who fought for dignity, both at home and abroad. And that's why Trending Tuesdays podcast is excited to welcome this cast of this powerful production. Stay tuned for a deep dive into the history, performances, and impact of Camp Logan. History is talking. Are we ready to listen? This podcast is brought to you by K. Davis in the Community.
We're on this side now. Give it up again for the live in-studio audience. Give it up for Danette Davis. Come on, give a round of applause. I'm here with 3 of the cast members of the outstanding stage play Camp Logan that just wrapped up here at the Ensemble Theater in Houston, Texas, the historic Ensemble Theater. And so we were just talking to Eileen Morris and Celeste Walker, and we are going to now talk to 3 of the cast members that played pivotal roles in this stage play. We'll start with, I want to say it's, was it Private Charles Harden, or what was the?
By the end of second lieutenant.
Well, I know about the end. See, you're taking me too fast now. I'm talking about from the beginning, though. But we have the gentleman that played Charles Harden in the play, and I'm talking about none other than Elijah Adams. Let's give him a round of applause, everybody. And then, because I'm going to focus on rank, we're going to go with the person to my immediate left who played the MP, in the play. And his name in the play was Robert Franciscus, but his real name is Christopher Adams. Let's give Christopher a round of applause, everybody. And then we had the person that played Sergeant McKinney. And he did an outstanding job with that. I'm talking about none other than Jason Carmichael, y'all. Let's give it up for Jason Carmichael. All right, y'all. Now let's talk about these characters. Now, as you were playing these characters, well, first of all, you had to read up on the character and learn the lines and everything. So I'll start with you, Eli. You're the youngest of the crew. How old are you?
In the show, 19.
Okay, how old are you in real life?
23.
20. Oh, come on, you act like that was so far off.
5 years, a lot happens in 5 years.
I know. But in the show, you were 19 years old. So tell me about when you first read up on this character. What were your thoughts on playing that role?
When I first started reading about the character, I was very conflicted. It took me time to really understand his place in the play, and that was a big journey for me as the actor in this character. Out of all the guys, he is sort of displaced just simply with his way of thinking, because where he's from, and probably some of his background and how he grew up. So a lot of the initial thoughts on the character were confusion. I had to figure out why I was here. What is the purpose of him in this space? And of course, by the end, he gets there. He gets to the whole evolution and realizing what this experience was really about. And by the end of it, you're wrapped in a bunch of emotions for a bunch of guys that you just met, but you're doing the show with them, and it was amazing. Yeah.
I mean, talking about that conflicting time. I mean, I'm looking from the beginning of the show. You're naive, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. You are believing the best of the world. You're talking about W.E.B. Du Bois and all of the things, thinking that, we can all kumbaya and come together, and white folks gonna love and embrace us if we go over and prove ourselves in the war. And it came to your realization over the time frame that, you know what, I feel the same way as my brothers do. Mm-hmm. And so in life, now that you're dealing with this in modern times, I mean, how do you relate what you played as a character to today's time?
I mean, to where we are now, as a young generation, I feel like we are exposed to so much information nowadays. So it's not hard I take that back. It's hard to be naive because we are exposed to so much information. And a character like Harden, in that time period, you only know what you experience and what's around you. So for him, all he knew before joining up with the guys was Minnesota. You know, to him, white people were amazing. They were great. They were nice. They're lovely. And compared to now, in reality, you can get on your phone and see almost anything. I mean, daily you see the turmoil that goes on, whether you're on CNN News, whether you're on Fox, whether you're on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it nowadays. So in relation to now, we are always in tough times as a society. We've moved forward from where we were, but it's hard to be a naive person. So my character in today's world is hard to come by unless you really are just off of the internet and off of the news, because we are very much exposed to almost everything now. And if you don't know, you're choosing to be blind to the situation.
Yeah. Sergeant McKinney, Jason, man, I tell you, you talk about conflicting. You know, you played the hell out of that role. All of you all did an amazing job, played the hell out of each of your roles. But just first of all, let me just get right to the chase. How many times did you want to fight the white colonel calling you the N-word straight to your face?
Well, that was the balance.
Yeah.
That he knew that he had to take that. That's the fine line you have to walk. That's the way that he perceived it. If I'm going to get ahead, if I'm going to advance, this is what I have to take. So I don't think it's until the end for my character when it kind of comes out that following the rules doesn't get you where you want to go all the time. You can do everything right, and maybe it's still not enough. And as black people, we go through that. You know, I was raised, definitely always told you got to be twice as good. You got to be better than. If you just do this, I was raised in a predominantly white neighborhood. I remember growing up hearing from my peers, my white peers, when they would make racist jokes. Oh, but not you. Or you're different. That type of mentality. So you come up with that. I came up with that. And so that was one element of McKinney that I loved, exploring that, what so many of our ancestors had to go through when we look back sometimes from a modern perspective and say, oh, I would have never been a slave. I would have been all up in, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe you would have done what you had to do to survive and for your family to survive what you thought was right. Yeah. And so I love that journey of McKinney that Ms. Walker wrote in the play.
You know, one of the things that I didn't realize about your character until the end was that you couldn't read or you were illiterate. And so that's quite interesting because, you know, you stole the character, stole the paper out of the folder and put it in his back pocket. Put it in his back pocket and asked Hardin to read it, because I'm assuming that you were the only one that could read. I don't know.
No, so you got Moses. Moses could read, and Franciscus.
Okay. There's a couple that could read.
Okay, but you asked Hardin to read it, and he broke it down. And the main thing that your character cared about was what you sacrificed and prepared your 22 years to do, and that's to go fight over in France in order to prove yourself, finally prove yourself. So tell me, I know you just talked about you got to be twice as better than everybody else, and even you, Hardin, Elijah, when you was talking about, if we could just prove ourselves, then we'll be accepted, then we'll be embraced, and we'll show them. You know, and I think that a lot of times, even today, we see now with this elimination of DEI that it really doesn't matter how great you are and how good you are. They're going to pick and choose who they want to pick and choose. And that's what ended up happening in the case of, the person, I can't remember his name, the colonel, is it captain? Captain. What was his name?
Captain Zelke.
Captain Zelke, in that piece that he read, said he agreed.
Yes.
He agreed. So tell me about your thoughts on that.
Well, I want to go back to something that you mentioned about Hardin and the sergeant's illiteracy. I think that he's found ways to get by and cope with that for the 22 years he's been in the Army. So I see Hardin as like, he's my newest. There are others that can read. I think he respects the fact that Hardin is a rule follower, and he knows that he's educated, he's from the North, and so he kind of, I think they share a bond, which is explored in that scene we have at the beginning of Act 2 when it's just the two of them, and he sees McKinney with his guard down and going through maybe some PTSD. That moment, I think that there's a bond between them. But I think what he discovers by the end, like you said, he was selfish and self-motivated. But by the end, it's about his men. And I think that's what he comes to. It's about the men. And I love it. And that's what I loved about the character. Because you never really know where he's going to land until the end. And that's what I love, that in the end, it's about the men. Not about myself. It's not about the flag. It's not about all the things that I thought it was about. It's about these men.
And in my knowledge and history of this actual story, because I know you were talking about save a bullet for yourself, that actual sergeant actually did kill himself or committed self-inflicted gunshot.
Yes.
Because I guess not wanting to be captured. But Christopher. Yeah. I'm so into the conversation, I'm not even thinking about the mic, so sorry, y'all. Talking about conflicting as well, I mean, you being MP, being the military police and having to keep order, but your position was meaningless in the eyes of white people. As a matter of fact, Captain Zelke at one point mentioned in there that in Houston, you're, a nigger first, and then you're a soldier. Am I correct? Yeah. And that stung. And one of the most emotional parts of the play to me was hearing or finding out that you had been captured, and that Hardin saw you dead. And so that kind of riled up everybody, where they committed, like, you know what, we're not going to take no more. And then when you return, all bloodied and beat up or whatever, it's like Captain Zelke didn't care nothing about you. He wanted you to just stand up and handle things as if nothing ever happened.
So one of the first things I noticed when I read the script and in its entirety, and for my role in particular, I saw the tragic ending that my character had. So I knew in Act 1 I had to pretty much make the audience fall in love with me as much as possible, so that the tragic turn in Act 2 would be more impactful. You know what I mean? So yeah, we kind of all go through it as a unit. And Act 1, when we first come in the very first scene, it's like, yeah, we face a little bit of racism and discrimination with the people outside awaiting our arrival. But, we think it's just kind of par for the course. And like, yeah, it's 1917, we down here in the South in the Confederacy and all that. But, we still think we about to have a good time while we can down here in Houston, and then going over to France, have a good time, be legends. Then by the end of by the time we get into Act 1, Scene 2, it's like, oh no, I think the whole town is like this. It's not just a few haters, it's everybody, all the white people here. And then by the time we get to the end of Act 1, everybody's kind of at a boiling point. They can't take it no more. But what can you do? And that's why it boils over in Act 2.
I'm kind of glad Captain Zelke ain't here, because I probably would have had some flashbacks as to how I was feeling at that moment. But I'm just saying, he did such an amazing job in that role that you were angry, you were pissed, you were wanting to respond. And I want to know how y'all felt about that as your fellow actor. Did you just take it like, you know what, this is acting, or did you get so much into character that you felt the same way I felt as an audience member?
Well, we'll
start back. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Go start with you, and then we go.
Me personally, it's funny because usually for rehearsals, I was usually like the first one there, and then Foster would be like the next person there who played Captain Zelke, Foster Davis, good actor. And, you know, so early on we got a chance to talk and, you know, kind of fraternize before rehearsal officially started. So, you know, I got the sense he wasn't really the guy that he is in the play. So it's
When
like,
it just roll off the tongue, like,
yeah. Now, you know, I joke with him and say the N-word does come very natural to him. But
now, did at any time he used the hard R?
Of well, not in, you know, personal life,
I know,
you know.
I'm just teasing.
But yes, in the play, yes.
Yeah,
you know.
for sure.
You give one an inch and you take them out.
Yeah, exactly.
You were there.
I was there. I didn't mean to cut y'all, but go ahead.
No
What
problem
were you
at
going
all.
to say?
I was just going to respond because we shared a dressing room together, Foster and I. And the show is written where there's no curtain call. It's supposed to be no curtain call where the actors come out, which we kind of played back and forth with in the beginning, and ultimately we settled on that. And I think it was a very beautiful and powerful thing because the audience is just left with, it's not about us, the actors, coming out and getting our kudos.
It's about the story.
It's about the story and about the men. But we tend to go out after, and in the lobby, we would, you know, talk to the people that have come to the show. Foster maybe came out once. But usually, especially when we weren't going to have a curtain call, as soon as he was dead, he was gone. Foster would be out the door. And people would ask, why don't you come out? And he, you know, he would have a very humble answer, which was, you know, it's not about me going out, but it's also about I'm not trying to
be around him
and hear everybody coming up to me saying how comfortably that rolled off my lips. I'm not going to put myself in that position.
Yeah.
I'm out. But I never had a feeling with him where, you know, he was an actor doing a very difficult job, and he did it very well. And we became, you know, like everybody in the cast, we all became close. You know, it was great in that sense.
So help me understand. I didn't quite understand the part where he was stabbed by you, and then he went back to his office, I guess, and then killed himself. So help me understand.
Which night did you see the show?
I was going to say, hopefully you came on a night when I didn't forget the knife or anything like that. That did happen. So, and then there may have been some confusion about how, but the way that it's written, yes. And the director also, he does stab him. And then the way that we were directed is that the director wanted to see, Ali Woods, wanted to see the captain going back, not just dying right there on the stage, but going back to his office and making the choice to go ahead.
Was it because, I guess the question I have is, was it because of he felt like his career was ruined, or embarrassment, or like he had lost control of the men? I mean,
I think all of that.
All of that.
I believe all of that, exactly.
Oh, wow.
Because he was already set to go. I mean, he had a command of white troops. He was going to France. We weren't going.
Yeah.
And so I don't think he expected to get pulled into this situation. And then when he was, and he realized he'd lost control of his men, and maybe he had a moment to reflect when I kind of call him out on his actions, that yes, he realized that maybe his career too was finished, and so the only dignity that maybe I can hold on for myself is to
kill himself.
Yeah.
So real quickly, Elia, am I saying that correct?
Yes.
Elia, how long have you been an actor, and what made you want to become an actor?
Oh, well, interesting question. I've been an actor for not very long, well, as far as I'm young, but I've been doing theater for about 10 years, like a little more professionally in that sense and taking it seriously. I started off as a musician, a guitar player. I love music, but I played guitar for however many years before I started theater, and I fell in love with electric guitar, a classical, acoustic, all of the above. But for theater, I started doing work with, I think my first show was like Beauty and the Beast, and I played Gaston, and I was like this small little kid, but you know, it's the ability to have an imagination and to be bigger than yourself, and that's why I love doing theater, and that's what kept me doing theater, because it's always bigger than yourself. you're here to tell a story. We're storytellers at the end of the day, and to be able to tell a story that resonates with people and makes people feel things is the greatest thing in the world. My favorite compliment when I end a show is, oh, like, you all made me cry. This production made me cry. Or it made me remember something about my grandmother, not always crying, not always sad. It's the ability to bring these emotions out of people that they don't even know they have sometimes. And that's why we tell the stories.
And was I seeing things? You lost your arm?
I did lose my arm.
I pay attention. I pay attention.
I lost my arm
All
at
right, Franciscus. Christopher. I got him caught between the real you and the character. So tell me about what got you into acting and how long you've been doing it.
Yeah, so when I was in second grade, I had a teacher, a little white lady named Miss Phillips, and she recommended to my mother that I be put into the magnet program of the school district in Aldine ISD, Northside. Yes, thank you. There you go. But yeah, so by that time I went to what was at the time Bethune Academy. And third grade I got introduced to theater class, but we didn't do any plays or nothing like that. I didn't do any plays until like 5th grade, but it was Jack and the Beanstalk and, I Need a Little Christmas Vacation and stuff like that. And I didn't really do theater like that in middle school, and then when I got to high school, G.W. Carver Magnet High School in Acres Homes, under the tutelage of Rashonda Jones and Jabari Collins. That's when I really started, kicking it into another gear and started, really going hard. And yeah, that was, I knew that was gonna be my life path.
And how old are you?
I just turned 28 on the 14th.
28, all right. 20-year-olds, all right. All right. I ain't gonna ask you your age.
20. You said it right, 20-year-old.
Times two.
No, I'm not ashamed, no.
So same question to you. What made you get into acting? How long have you been doing?
Well, also childhood, elementary. I went to a magnet elementary school for the performing arts. But even before that, I had a teacher, similar, a kindergarten teacher. I read very early. I guess that would be, I read early and I read out loud well. And it was noticed by teachers early. So I remember my first headshot was literally my kindergarten teacher. And she used to take me to Galveston, different places for jobs. Elementary school, I got my first agent, and we were doing Shakespeare at my school and stuff like that, doing commercials. So from very early on, I used to do plays in my neighbor's backyard every summer. My friends would be like, oh, this is fun for a couple of days. And then they'd be like, can we play something else? I'm like, no, we in rehearsal. We got a show. So it was all kind of always around. I went to Howard University, got my degree in theater. Right? You know? So I got my degree in theater from there, and then I moved to Los Angeles, and I've lived there for over 20 years, working in film and television and stage. And in LA, a lot of times the theater it's more of a showcase for film. It's more of an opportunity to be seen to get cast in something else, as opposed to really being appreciated for its artistic value. And when I came back home to Houston, I was raised in the ensemble theater from when they were on 10, 2am as a child. And my parents had been trying to get me to come back and just check out the ensemble. And well, and I'm thinking the ensemble is still the storefront where we used to go when I was a child, where there was only one bathroom and it was backstage. And I loved it. As a kid, I loved it because you got to go backstage and see all of the actors changing and stuff. So I'm thinking, well, I'm not coming back to work I'm Jason Carmichael, And then I came back, and of course, I'm honored to be in my 14th season, and the types of things that I've been able to do, the roles that I've been able to do, and the shows that I've been able to do have been what the trajectory of where I wanted my career to go. So it's been a blessing, yeah.
All right, y'all, let's give it up once again for Elia, Jason, and Christopher, cast of none other than Camp Logan. We're going to show a real quick clip, and we're going to finish up back again with Celeste and Eileen. And let's give it up one more time, live studio audience, for the cast of Camp Logan.
His face was just covered with blood. I mean, covered
If
with
you had minded your own business,
I know.
nothing's would have happened.
I'm sorry. But I couldn't just stand by and watch that police officer beat up that colored woman.
She was a prostitute.
No, she wasn't. But it don't matter what she was. Oh, she was colored, and they didn't have no business putting their hands on her.
Yeah, all it was, Sarge, look, it was just a little crap game. Then out the blue, O'Reilly and his partner pull up on their horses, aiming 6 shooters at us. The civilians' hours was scattered. One went under this woman's house, and look, I ran back to camp. But Harden, he just stood there looking like a dummy, so they grabbed him.
Look, I was gonna go with them peacefully, Sergeant McKinney, sir. But then O'Reilly, he started to hit that colored lady, Miss Travers, because she couldn't tell him where the other colored fella had gone. And when I tried to help her, he started to hit me too. It's about this time as when Franciscus came along, inquiring as to what was going on. And O'Reilly said, "You want some of this too, nigger?" Then he pulled his weapon out and started firing at Franciscus. When Franciscus had to take off running down that street for his life. Then O'Reilly and Daniels, they got on their horses and chased him down that street. I saw Franciscus in jail and they had beat him to death.
If Franciscus had been armed, none of this never would have happened.
All right, y'all, we are back, Trending Tuesdays. Let's give it up once again for the cast, Camp Logan. So, Celeste, I mean, you heard the actors that carried out your work on stage. What were your thoughts on their comments and some of their responses to the characters?
They were just phenomenal. The things they said about the characters, and then I was so interested to hear their backgrounds, you know, how they got into theater, and they were just phenomenal. The insight, and the insight you had too. You know, you actually really saw the play.
Yeah, I saw the play. Yeah, I saw the play.
The insight that they had into the characters, you know, some of it, you know, I hadn't really thought about. You know, I always depend on the actors to carry the play forth and to answer questions for me that I was not able to answer in the script, you know, because there comes a time where you can only go so far and then you just have to let it go. But you can depend on the actors to dig, and the director, to dig deeper and to really find out who these characters are, because they're actually walking it out. I'm just sitting there writing. So you really depend on them to actually go through and dig through and tell you some things that you didn't know.
Yeah. So Eileen, as a director, you know, and one of the things that Christopher said that stood out to me was when he said that he wanted in Act 1 to make the audience love him, so that when, you know, Act 2 happened and the end, his demise, that they would have even more of an emotional connection to him. Was that something that, well, it seems like it's something that he took upon himself, but is that something as a director that you try to pull out of everybody?
That's exactly what we as directors want, you know, our actors to do. You know, the beauty of what what the guys said, Elia, Jason, and Christopher said, is what the process is for us. You know, because as an artist, it's the process. As a director, as an actor, as designers, you're setting up, getting things ready. So that means you're doing all the words that I heard, Mr. Boney and Celeste, were research, you know, team building, writing, character, you know, finding characterization, interpretation. You know, those are things that we have to do in life. Just kind of figuring things out, where we're going to go, how we're doing it. In whatever career choice we have, whatever we're doing with our families, it's about community, family. It's about how you get along, how you figure out how to work with each other. And those are things that we were doing in the play. So yes, it is definitely a choice that we want an actor to make, to say, so that he knows that if I get them to love me, as he said, then the payoff will be much bigger at the end when they see that my body is broken down and I had to endure that. And that's how life is, right? The things that we have to endure, how are we going to go? But, you know, it's about, if you fall, my folks always said, if you fall, the question is, are you going to get up? And when you get up, what are you going to do once you get up?
Right.
And that's what the, you know, Celeste's story of these men in Camp Logan, they fell a lot and they got up. But the one time that they fell, they still decided to do something about it, and they made history. So they paved the way for others to understand the journey that they had to take, but how do we move forward from that? What tools do we use to make ourselves better human beings and make the world a better place?
Yeah, so Celeste, I mean, you've written over 20 plays, and we got a lot going on in the world today. are there any other play ideas that you feel would be relevant for America to see today
Ooh, that's
that
a
you
good
have yet to
question.
write?
Right. Well, that is a very good question. All I can think of something just very general, some kind of play where we as a race have finally come into our own. We and the world have finally discovered who we really are.
Unapologetically.
Yes. Yes.
Well,
yes,
maybe
yes.
if you write it, then it'll happen, finally.
Oh.
How about that? You heard it here on Trending Tuesdays first.
Okay.
So when we come together and finally get it together, it's because Miss Celeste is the one that led the way and helped us get there. How about that? So Eileen, I know that you have some upcoming plays at the ensemble.
We do.
Please let us know what those plays are, if you could, right now, and then also how people can participate, how they can attend, how they can support. All that is important.
First of all, thank you, Trending Tuesday, for having the Ensemble Theater on, for showing the scenes, for having the actors, Ms. Danette, who's a strong supporter and one of our ensemble board members. We really appreciate that support. The Ensemble Theater runs theater all year long. So we do plays every other month. So if you are looking for entertainment, you can come to the theater. The next play up is going to be in March, mid-March, and it's a play called Flex by Candace Jones, directed by Rachel Hemphill Dixon. It's a play about an all-female basketball team. True story. From in Arkansas, I believe is what it is. And so that story is coming to play. And then right after that, it's a rolling world premiere called Coconut Cake, about these old guys that have retired, and they all meet up at McDonald's every Monday. So you can find out the inside of what's going on there. And Jason E. Carmichael, who played Sergeant McKinney, is in that play as well. And then we're going to close the season out with a play called The Tap Dance Kid. So tap is a lost art, right? It's a lost dance opportunity. And so we're looking to be able to bring dance and jazz back to to the forefront, and we're gonna be closing out with that play. But the Ensemble Theater also continues to tour plays throughout the city of Houston and the world, and we have a Young Performers Program, which is a training program for youth ages 6 to 17. So if anybody out there that's listening is interested in having their young person start out like these guys did, and understand that it takes a village to bring people together, that they can share in telling stories, then they can bring them to the Ensemble Theater. We have a spring break, March 10th to the 14th, and then 2 4-week sessions in the summer.
Awesome. And how can people find out about that?
They can go to Ensemble Theater website, ensemblehouston.com, ENSEMBLE Houston, HOUSTON.com, or 713-520-0055 for more information.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you all so much for being on Trending Tuesdays. I want to thank again the members of the cast that are here, Christopher, Jason, and Aliyah, and definitely want to thank you, Eileen, for just being a stalwart in our community, being consistent, being present, and holding it down for the Ensemble Theater and for art, black art, in the city of Houston and surrounding areas and across the country. We need more of you to be consistent and to deliver on an excellent level like you do. So thank you so much. And of course, Miss Celeste, you're a legend.
Yes, Lord.
And not just in your own mind. You're a legend. you're really, truly a legend. And we appreciate you for all of your work, and all of your honors are well deserved, and more to come. When we write this Black Coming Together play, we definitely gonna win some Academy Awards because of that. But anyway, y'all, thank you. Or would it be called Tony? Is it Tony's Award?
Tony Award.
Stage plays, huh? The Tony Award.
But it could turn out to be a film.
We ain't gonna limit it to
That's
stage.
right.
It's gonna be, we're gonna be at the Cannes Film Festival.
There you go.
Anyway, I think I want to turn it over back to Danette Davis. Let's give them a round of applause, studio audience.
Thank you, guys.
Y'all can do better than that.
Thank you.
Y'all can do better than that. Let's give them a round of applause, everybody. Thank you very much. All right, Danette Davis, we'll turn it back over to you. I think you have a special toast that you want to do.
I do. I'm so excited. Girl, you did that commercial. Everything about the ensemble that you needed to know, what have you, Eileen, you did a wonderful job. The ensemble is at the forefront of theater, not only in Houston, but in the nation, and everybody will know that. We're going to toast at this time. Everybody doesn't drink alcohol, so we just fill the glasses with, those things that you do so we can say toast to success. We appreciate it, and you said this is the first time that the ensemble has done this piece? What have you?
It is.
Okay, well then, this is a toast to the first showing of Cam Logan here.
ensemble.
Cheers, at the ensemble.
Cheers. Cheers.
And many more.
And many more.
So that camera, if y'all can catch the audience over there, sit.
You don't have to catch me drinking.
Trending Tuesday podcast live stream. Be there, stay informed, and stay trending. See you on the stream or in person. This show is brought to you by KDITC, K Davis in the Community. Get on board.